Hey everybody, welcome to Money's No Object. I'm your host, Dylan Howell. This is episode number 192 of our YouTube channel and podcast, and I cannot be more excited to continue sharing with you guys personal finance topics that I think could be useful for you in your long-term financial journey. Today, we are going to be talking about your income, and we're specifically going to talk about your income as it relates to your ability to build wealth over the long term. Because I truly believe that your income is the biggest thing that is going to help you to get from where you are to where you can be and to meet all of your possibilities as far as long-term wealth building. And so I really want to break that down and I want to break down how you can use your income in the most efficient ways and what you can do to increase your income in order to get to where you want to be if where you currently are is a tough place with the income that you currently have. And so we'll dig into all that and more in today's episode. Before we get started though, if you could go down below, hit the big red subscribe button, like this video, leave me any feedback in the comments down below and I'll be sure to respond to anything you leave down there. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify podcasts, then be sure to subscribe and leave me a review on either one of those platforms. Follow me on social media at MNO with Dylan, and that's really good supplemental materials to all the things I'm putting out in these long form episodes on YouTube and the podcast every single day. And then if you need somebody to help you to create a financial plan that is specific to you and your family's needs and keep you accountable to that plan over the long term, then I can do that. Just go to my website, www.mnowithdylan.com. Click on the Work with Dylan tab, and you can choose the financial coaching session type that would work best for you, and we can begin pushing towards your long-term financial goals together. So when I make a new episode every single day and I'm trying to help you guys to build wealth over the long term and trying to help you guys to manage your money effectively over the long term, what I am trying to do is I'm trying to teach you how to most efficiently use the money that you have. And for most people, the majority of what they have, at least at the current point, when they begin some financial plan, the majority of what they have comes directly from their income. So without some type of income, it is going to be absolutely impossible to start building a financial foundation and start working a financial plan that is going to get you to where you want to be over the long term. And my financial action plan that I've built out for you guys, it begins simply with budgeting your income and your expenses. And so if you don't have an income or you're not using your income effectively enough, right, or if you don't have an adequate income, it's going to be very, very difficult in order to make any type of financial traction. Now, this is not to say that you need the biggest and baddest income in order to be financially successful. So there are people who only make moderate incomes that do very, very well for themselves and that build a financial life that is very successful over the long term. It does not take a whole lot in order to get to where you want to be financially. But what it does take is some good planning. It does take you're taking advantage of what you do have and taking control of what you do have and telling your income what to do, telling your money where it should go and being very intentional about doing so. And if you're not intentional, if you do not employ good financial management with what you have, it doesn't matter how much income you make, you are going to struggle to build wealth and you're going to struggle to be financially successful over the long term because everything really starts with your budget. And that's why the financial action plan that I build out for you guys begins with the budget. It begins with budgeting your income, budgeting your expenses. And the way that your budget needs to look is it needs to start with whatever income you have coming in, right? And start with that income and then immediately go to all of your fixed expenses, all of the things that are, you're going to for sure have to pay every single month. And go down the line with those fixed expenses, then go to the kind of semi-fixed expenses, the things that may fall within some particular range month to month, and then go into the variable expenses that you may have, and then you go into the saving and investing portion of your budget. Now, obviously, after the income portion of our budget, we do want to be giving. That is part of our fixed expenses. And so that's something that does come out of your budget just right off at the top, right? It comes right out of your income. And so naturally, we take out that giving portion before we do anything else, but that is part of the fixed part of your budget. And then you work your way all the way down through your other expenses, through your saving and investing. And then you should be left with a budget that has a final balance of zero because you have allocated all of your money somewhere, right? And that's not to say that you spend every dollar that you bring in. That's to say that you allocate it somewhere. It may just be allocated into your savings account, or it may just be allocated into an investment brokerage account or something of the like, or it may be allocated towards paying more on your home, right? Or it may be allocated towards whatever is relevant to your life at the time. And so you just have to work that out for yourself and work that out for you and your family. And once you figure all of that out, and once you work your budget all the way through, you've taken one of the most vital steps when it comes to long-term financial management, long-term financial freedom attainment, and that is actually taking control of your income and knowing where your money is going. Because without knowing where your money is going, you're going to be sitting around wondering where it went. And so that is why the first part of the financial action plan is what it is. That's why it is you making a unique monthly budget and doing so in a way that is zero based. It's ending with a zero balance every single month. And that is going to allow you to maximize the income that you do have, regardless of what your income is. Because I do want you to have as high an income as possible. Obviously, more income is going to help you. More income is going to help you to be financially successful. But with too many people, more income only creates more expenses. Because what's normal is to take a certain amount of income and live on that amount of income and act like you make that amount of income, right? It's pretty obvious that most of the people that you live around in your neighborhood likely make salaries very near to what you make, because you all can afford similar housing. If you're buying similar cars to the people who make the same types of money that you do, then that is indicative of the fact that those people around you are making similar incomes as well, right? But we don't want to be normal. We don't want to do normal things. We want to live below our means, okay? And we don't want to allow that lifestyle creep, as we call it, right? Where, lifestyle creeps up on you. You allow things to get more and more expensive as you make more and more income. We want to be living below our means. And so as you make more income, your lifestyle doesn't creep upward with the amount of income that you're making. You can actually maintain a certain level of lifestyle and or just moderately increase it when your income increases, and you will still be well ahead of the game and still living below your means and able to put more money onto your debts if you have any, right? You'll be able to pay off your home. If that's somewhere where you are in the financial action plan, you'll be able to invest more. You'll be able to give more. You'll be able to save more. You're able to do so much more if you are able to just live below your means and not allow lifestyle to creep up. Because if you allow lifestyle creep to occur, it does not matter the amount of income that you make. It does not matter what you are doing for a job or what you're making. It doesn't matter, right? Because that income is just constantly flying out of the window. Your cash flow is constantly flying out of the window, and that is not what we want. We want to maximize what we have, not allow what we have to just be wasted at the first sign of any type of success financially or success when it comes to the income that we are making. Because I'm just telling you, there are far too many individuals who are in high-paying careers, being doctors, lawyers, or doing any type of thing that makes a really high income, and those people do not manage their money well. And so you would say, oh, well, I would love to have that job. I would love to have that income. But what comes with that job and with that income are the temptations of going out and buying the things and keeping up with the Joneses, keeping up with people who do things like that, keeping up with the status quo. Because if you're a doctor or a lawyer, a lot of people are like, oh, well, I went to medical school, I deserve this. I went to law school, I deserve this. I deserve to be able to buy this. I deserve to be able to do this because my income says I should be able to. But your income can say all it wants to. If your bank account doesn't say that you're able to, then you are still in trouble. You still have issues that you need to work through in your financial plan. And obviously, the greater your income was, it did not matter. You were still going to have to work through those issues anyway. And so quite obviously, it doesn't really come down to what you make. It comes down to what you can keep, right? We don't just want to make income. We want to be able to keep it. We want to be able to keep it in-house. That way we can make decisions as to what we do with it, as to how we allocate that money. And one of the biggest ways that we can take advantage of our income, that we can maximize the income that we do have over the long term, is to stay away from debt. Because debt, as I've said time and time again, and hopefully this is something that you take away from listening to or watching these episodes, is that debt is a strain on your cash flow. Any debt that you have is cash flow leaving your pocket, period. End of story. Because you are owing payments to someone, some bank, some institution, and that money is constantly leaving your pocket. So any income that you have is constrained by the debts that you have. And so staying away from debt is going to allow you to take the maximum advantage of the income that you have. It's really, really interesting how people who have no debt and may have a lower income can live really, really similar to someone or some couple or some family who makes a higher income than them and yet has a lot of debt. Right? Those individuals who live above their means, because if you're taking out a bunch of debt, you are literally living above your means. You are living above what you're able to because you are financing what you have. You are taking out loans to have what you have. You are putting everything that you have on credit cards, right? You are living above what your income actually says you are able to live on. And so if you didn't have any debt and you made a nicer income, then you would be able to do more with what you had, right? But the people who don't have any debt but have lesser incomes are actually maximizing the income that they do have because they can buy the things that the people who make more than them yet have debt can buy and not be constrained in owning whatever those people own, because you're not constantly having to make payments and you are working off of a cash basis, which is extremely, extremely powerful when it comes to long-term financial management. And that's why I tell you that in the financial action plan, one of the biggest cruxes, right? One of the biggest points in the financial action plan where you really differentiate those who are going to make it and those who aren't is the point where you have to get out of all consumer debt other than your mortgage. And if you can get through that, then you can really begin to maximize your income and really begin to push your income towards building wealth and maximizing the assets that you have. It's just not that difficult. It's just not something that is that crazy or that outlandish to think about. If you don't have money to be able to do other things with, to be able to build wealth with, then you're not going to be able to build wealth, right? Well, this is the argument that a lot of people make when they're saying, I have to make more income. I have to make more income because if I don't have more income, then I can't invest or I can't save. And for some people, this is true. But the vast majority of individuals are making a salary that is good enough or making an income that is good enough to be able to invest money, to be able to save money, to be able to get out of debt. They are able to do so. They just do not live below their means. They do not want to cut their expenses low enough to where they can do these things and be able to live in a financially free way. It's all about your choices. And I'm not saying that there aren't people out there that are listening to this or watching this that, yes, you need to make more income. You need to begin to push towards making greater income. And maybe that looks like taking on a side hustle. Maybe that looks like applying for new jobs and not just sitting in the job that you're in. Maybe that looks like asking for a raise. Maybe it looks like working towards a promotion or getting new education. Whatever that looks like for you, that may be something that is very real in your situation. But most of you out there who are struggling financially are not struggling financially because you don't make enough money. You are struggling financially because the money that you make is not staying in your home. The money that you make is not staying in your pocket. The money that you make is not left up to you as to how to spend it. You are having to spend it in the way that the credit card company tells you to, or that the car company tells you to, or that the student loan company tells you to. You are being forced into those places because you made choices previously that are hurting you financially. But that doesn't mean that we really have to harp on that. It doesn't mean that we have to feel bad for ourselves or that we have some loss of hope because we haven't managed our money well in the past. Guess what? You can change. You can use the income that you have today to dig out of the hole that you have. Now, obviously, if you are in debt, right? If you have a lot of debt and that you're very constrained as far as your cash flow currently, one of the best ways to get out of debt faster is to work more hours or to take on a second job or a side hustle or something like that. Because anytime that you have more in the way of expenses, then increasing your income can create that margin that you want to have in your budget. And that margin, when you're trying to get out of debt, should all be thrown at the debt. And you should really be pushing towards getting out of debt in that place. Because then once you're out of debt, then the necessity for that side hustle, the necessity for those extra hours or that other job that you took on may not be there. You may be able to simply just work the one job that you had and still build a strong financial life over the long term. Okay. You may also be thinking, well, it's fine. Yeah, I can probably get out of debt with the amount of money that I make. You don't need to make a huge salary to be able to get out of debt, but do I need to make a huge salary in order to build wealth, in order to build a nest egg that I can live on over the long term? Well, the short answer is absolutely not. One story that is very widely told, and it is told very commonly by Tony Robbins, who is the motivational speaker, but he really has stepped into the financial space as well. And there's this janitor who only made $14,000 a year, and he was befriended by this other guy who really understood finances, understood how money worked, and the guy told him, "Hey, you only make $14,000 a year. I am going to make you rich. I'm going to make you a millionaire. I'm going to make you a multimillionaire." And he was like, "Well, how? I only make $14,000 a year." He said, "Here's what I'm going to do. Every single check that you make, we're going to take 20%, and I am just going to take it from you. I'm going to take it from you, and I'm going to invest it. And we're going to treat it like a tax on your income. We're going to take that out of your income, and guess what? You're just going to have to live on what's left." And he said to the janitor that if the government wanted to tax you at another 20%, you would gripe and complain and you'd be frustrated, but you would eventually have to pay it. So treat investing as a tax on your income. And so he did that, and the man made millions of dollars. He built millions of dollars as a nest egg thanks to this individual that he befriended. But the whole moral of the story is you don't have to make a huge income in order to build a nest egg that is substantial. You don't have to put away tons of money in order to get to somewhere that is worth getting. I've told you before that if you start, let's say at age 25 and you invest all the way to age 65 and you made the prevailing market returns of 10% per year, right? You only have to put away $158 a month approximately in order to get to $1 million in nest egg. And $158 a month, we spend way more than that on lesser things, and we spend way more than that on less important things. And that is nowhere near the 15% of income that we talk about for most individuals. The 15% of income should get most individuals into the multi-million dollar range. So let's talk about a couple of the situations in which that is the case. So sticking with that same theme of a 40-year time horizon, if you invested from age 25 to age 65 and made 10% rates of returns on your money over that time, and again, you may not make this rate of return, but we're just doing this for illustration purposes. You may make more, you may make less, okay? But if you put away 15% of your income as somebody who made $50,000 a year, you could accumulate $3.95 million over the course of a 40-year period. And that's assuming that you never make more than $50,000 a year, right? And if you made $80,000 a year, right, a little bump from the 50, and never made more than $80,000 a year, you could accumulate $6.32 million over the course of your working life and have quite a nice nest egg for you to sit on and live on when you retire. The whole point is you don't have to make six figures in order to build a nice nest egg for yourself. Now, is it very difficult to be able to invest 15% of your income? Absolutely it is, right? Absolutely, it's very, very difficult to be able to put away that much money. But what makes it easier? What makes it easier is taking advantage of the income that you do have, right? Taking control of the income that you do have. And the way that we take control of the income that we do have is that we budget, right? We know where our money is going, right? We have emergency funds, we get out of debt, right? We don't have money just flying out of the window because we have to pay Ford Motor Company and we have to pay American Express or MasterCard. We don't have to pay those people because we have taken control of our incomes and we know where our money is going, and we pay for everything in cash. And when you pay for everything in cash and you don't have debt, then you have margin. You have space in your budget to be able to invest. You have space in your budget to be able to build wealth. And putting away 15% of your income is not that crazy anymore. So just for instance, right, 15% of a $50,000 a year annual income, right, would be $7,500 a year. If you break that down into a monthly number, that is $625 a month. There are people who have car payments that are more than $625 a month, right? Not to mention what they're paying to the credit card companies, not to mention what they're paying to the student loan companies, not to mention what they're paying on old medical bills or what, right? The debts that people are paying are probably far greater than what I'm looking for you to invest. And it's really telling that we don't think that we can invest that much, but we do think that it's okay to spend that much in debt payments. That's absolutely not. We have to use our income in the best way possible. We have to use our income in the most efficient way possible. And the most efficient way is to get out of debt, is to start building wealth by putting away small amounts incrementally, right? You can start small. You don't have to start at $625 a month. That may seem like a lot to a lot of you, but you can build up, and you can do that because you're not going to be sitting with debt payments. You're not going to be trying to actively continue to put money away because you've already built an emergency fund, right? Unless you are saving for something specific like a new car or a down payment on a house or something like that. Unless you have specific savings goals, there's really nowhere else for your money to go than into the investing bin, or you can spend that money, or you can give that money, right? And that is financial freedom, right? That is financial freedom in order to be able to make those types of decisions for yourself. You have taken control of the income that you do have. Right? Your income is powerful. Regardless of the amount of income that you make, your income is powerful, because what your income allows you to do is it allows you to build up assets. It allows you to become an owner over the long term, which is what we want. We want to build ownership. We want to become owners in mutual funds and stocks and real estate and things that are going to go up in value over the long term. And if we can become owners, right, and really take on that ownership role, then we can build wealth. And if we can build wealth, then guess what happens? What happens is those things that we own end up paying for our lifestyle later on, and we no longer need an income, right? Now, obviously, the higher that your income is, the more money you can put away. The higher your income is, the quicker you can possibly get out of debt, right? If you have any, the higher your income is, the more you're going to be able to give and spend and invest and save and all these different things, right? So yes, your income being greater is going to be more and more powerful. But you have to understand that if you allow that lifestyle creep to set in, you allow keeping up with the Joneses to dictate what you should do with your money, then it is going to be very, very difficult to do the right things with your money over the long term. So you have to make those types of decisions. You have to employ self-discipline on yourself and your actions, and you have to have a plan. That is one of the biggest things with your income. With your income, if you go about your financial life and the income that you have without a plan, regardless of what your income is, then it is going to be very, very difficult. Now, a lot of people who do have higher incomes think that they can make it just because they have a higher income. That's just not the case, right? And the data doesn't bear that out at all. When it comes to the career fields that end up being most successful in building wealth over the long term, the ones with the highest incomes really don't end up at the top of the list. It's really more people who have conservative, pragmatic minds when it comes to the building of wealth, when it comes to personal finances, who end up winning. So the jobs that end up building that long-term wealth the most often are engineers, are accountants, and are actually teachers, right? These are people who don't make crazy salaries, especially teachers don't make the biggest and baddest salaries, right? Now, engineers can make very good salaries. Accountants can also make very good salaries, right? But we're not talking about doctors. We're not talking about lawyers or surgeons or people who make these outlandish salaries in and of themselves. We are talking about people who went to school, got a bachelor's degree in something, most often got a bachelor's degree in something, went and just built a life for themselves from nothing. And that is the way in which your income can be powerful, because these individuals didn't make the highest incomes. These individuals didn't make the big crazy incomes to live in the biggest house in the nicest neighborhood, but they became millionaires. They were able to build wealth in ways that many people in the medical field, or many attorneys, or many people who make those really high salaries were not able to do. And this is extremely notable, because what this is saying is that your income is only as powerful as your willingness to have a plan for it, right? Your income is only as powerful as your willingness to sit down and say, well, where is our income going, and should it be going to those places? And are we willing to live below our means? Are we willing to take this income that we have, as nice or as modest as it may be, and say, we're not going to live on all of this. We're going to live on less than what we make. We're going to be able to take some margin in our budget and be able to get out of debt, to be able to build up some savings in an emergency fund, to be able to invest, to be able to give and spend and enjoy the money that you have, right? So when I say that income is your biggest wealth building tool, when I say that income is the thing that is going to make the difference for you long term in your ability to reach financial freedom, I don't mean that if you make the highest income, you have a better chance. That's obviously not the case. But what I do mean is that you must manage your income in a way that is going to allow you to be able to be financially successful. If you do not manage the income that you do have, right, there is no way for you to become financially successful. But regardless of the income that you do make, you can still become financially successful if you just have a plan, if you just manage that income well. And so that income, regardless of what it is, can be extremely powerful. Now, as I said earlier, some people do need to build higher incomes for themselves in order to be able to get out of whatever situation they're in, or to build a better life for themselves, because some people can only cover their needs when it comes to their expenses with the income that they have. And so they need to build up that income a little bit. But some people, most people really, need to cut their expenses, need to take back the income that they actually have. Stop going into debt. Stop just spending money on frivolous things that you do not need. Stop eating out multiple times a week. Stop doing crazy things with your money. Start being very meticulous, very intentional, very planned with the money that you do have, with the income that you bring in. And if you do that, then building wealth and creating some financial freedom for yourself over the long term becomes very, very doable. And it becomes something that you're going to look upon with a lot of pride, with a lot of joy in the fact that you were able to take what you had and build something over the long term. So I want to encourage you, regardless of your income, regardless of where you're at, if you can take advantage and take control of the income that you have, then that income is very, very powerful. That income can allow you to get to where you want to be. But you have to budget. You have to tell your money where to go. You have to know where your money is going, and then allow yourself to make the good decisions that we talk about day in and day out, about getting out of debt and investing and building up savings for yourself. And then you can be financially successful and experience the financial freedom that I think we're all searching for when it comes to managing our money and being good managers of what we've been given by God. And so hopefully we can all take this to heart and allow ourselves to be good managers of the income that we do have, and allow that income to be as strong as it can be over the long term. So thanks for watching this video. If you could go down below, hit the big red subscribe button, like this video, leave me any feedback in the comments down below, and I'll be sure to respond to anything you leave down there. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify podcasts, and be sure to subscribe and leave me a review on either one of those platforms. Follow me on social media at MNO with Dylan, and that's really good supplemental materials to all the things I'm putting out in these long form episodes on YouTube and the podcast every single day. And then if you need somebody to help you to create a financial plan that is specific to you and your family's needs and keep you accountable to that plan over the long term, then I can do that. Just go to my website, www.MNOwithDylan.com. Click on the Work with Dylan tab, and you can choose the financial coaching session type that would work best for you, and we can begin pushing towards your long-term financial goals together. So tune in tomorrow as I talk about investing early being more important than investing often, and I'll talk more about what that means in tomorrow's episode. So thanks for tuning into this episode of Money's No Object. I'm your host, Dylan Howell. God bless.